We begin this Friday with Congress's attempt to plug government leaks. In the wake of some high-profile leaks, Congress is pushing to prevent classified information from being made public. The Senate's anti-leaking bill cracks down on government agencies, but not all branches are created equal. Exempt from the bill are members of Congress, congressional staffers, and the executive branch. Interestingly, though, that's where most government leaks reportedly come from. So in the quest to crack down on leaks, why aren't lawmakers getting to the source of the problem? To discuss this, Josh Gerstein, White House reporter for Politico. Welcome, Josh. So this bill excludes some of the biggest perpetrators of government leaks. What's the point then?
Well, it comes out of the Senate Intelligence Committee, which only has discretion over, only has jurisdiction, I should say, over the intelligence agencies. So they don't have authority really to regulate the White House, to regulate the Pentagon, the State Department, or strangely enough, they don't even have authority to regulate Congress and their own staffers.
So you're saying that they can't include themselves even if they wanted to?
Well, they could pass legislation that would control all those areas with the possible exception of the White House, which is a little more complicated. But it would have to go through a bunch of different committees, and that would probably take months and months. And this is something that the Senate Intelligence Committee panel seemed intent on trying to jam through in pretty short order.
And why do you think that is?
Well, I mean, there's been a large outcry in the last couple of months here in Washington about a series of very high-profile leaks. And members of Congress are eager to do something about it. It's not a purely partisan thing. A lot of these proposals have gotten support from both Democrats and Republicans, and the main driver behind doing something about it right now seems to be the Senate Intelligence Committee chairwoman, Senator Dianne Feinstein of California, although Mitt Romney, the Republican presidential candidate, has also brought it up himself.
You brought up Dianne Feinstein, and ironically, she is one of the biggest leakers in Congress.
Well, I mean, I can't say that I know that personally, but of course, if you were looking for classified information to put into a story, some of the first people you would approach on Capitol Hill would be members of the Senate Intelligence Committee. And so it wouldn't be surprising if I found out that some members of that committee and their staff had over the years leaked some of the information they're trying to crack down on right now.
Okay, I should say that she is accused of being one of the biggest leakers, and that's why some people are finding it ironic that she is now, presenting this bill. And that's exactly what it is. Most leaks reportedly, they don't come from the CIA or the FBI or the NSA. But would you say it's fair to say that most of them do, in fact, come from those that are involved in public office?
I would say they come either from the Hill or they come from the White House or from senior administration officials, from your assistant secretaries, your public affairs people in the government agencies. The truth is that the average rank and file CIA officer is not likely to be speaking to a New York Times reporter. I mean, how would the reporter even find out who that person is? It seems far more likely that this kind of information comes through the channels of officials who are dealing with these kinds of journalists on a day-to-day basis.
Okay, that being the case then, would this bill really change anything?
I think it could change things because it makes certain things that go on all the time a lot harder. For example, there are background briefings that intelligence agencies do for reporters. There have even been instances where agencies like the NSA tried to give reporters tips on how not to blow the cover of the agency when they're writing stories. That kind of stuff would become a lot more difficult for agencies to do under this law. I wouldn't say it would be impossible, but only the director and deputy director of an agency could really speak to reporters on background or off the record. And that would just be a very different way of doing business than these agencies do right now.
And as a journalist, how would that affect, journalists being able to do their jobs? And could that kind of lead to this piece of legislation being a transparency killer?
Well, it's already happening, frankly. It's not really a hypothetical. There's already a chilling effect. There are already a lot of people who may have been more willing to speak in the past, being very, very careful about what they say and who they talk to. And that's in part because of legislation like this, but in part because of the criminal investigations that are going on into some of these past leaks. You wouldn't want a reporter's name to be all over your desk calendar or your Outlook calendar at this point, because you never know when investigators are going to come rummaging through that calendar or through your email looking for your entire history of contact with reporters. So maybe this legislation is already having some effect before it even hits the books.
So do you think, things like the kill list and other things that have been made public, that some of these things are not going to make it to the media because of this crackdown?
I think that's very likely that some information won't be coming out. And, there are real questions about whether all these secrets, in fact, are secrets and which ones of them really need to be kept under wraps and which ones are things that people should be have the right to debate about in a democracy.
And this comes at a time where the government is accused of over-classifying documents, especially in the wake of WikiLeaks and Bradley Manning. A lot of people are saying that too much is being considered classified information. So, how does that kind of play into this?
Well, I think almost everybody agrees that too much information is classified and too many people have access to it. There are something like 5 million people that have some type of security clearance in the country. That's like approaching 2% of the population. And you really can't claim that you're holding these secrets that tightly when 5 million people can look at them. So that's definitely a problem that needs to be worked on. And other folks have said, look, you can't keep the really secret stuff that you need to keep secret when you have a system that makes secret all kinds of things that don't really need to be kept from the public. It makes the task of keeping the true secret a lot harder.
And another thing that this bill seems to do, or the effect of it, is that it might instill some fear within government, within the government.
Oh, yeah. As I said, I think it's already having that effect. There's already a concern that, look, either right now or in the future, people are going to be monitoring what we say to reporters. So why bother to talk to the journalists at all? The other weird thing that happens here is instead of speaking to journalists, a lot of these folks might decide, oh, I'd rather speak to folks at non-governmental organizations. It doesn't cover foreign diplomats or any kind of the other dinner party conversation that takes place in Washington. It just mainly cracks down on contacts with the media and especially those consultants who are talking heads on the cable news networks.
All right, Josh, what do you think needs to change in this bill to make it more effective, I guess?
Well, they really need to look at do they want to apply these rules to everyone in the government, or do they want to only have it apply to those in the intelligence agencies? That's really the critical question that I think Congress has to confront. And will they apply the rules to themselves?
All right, Josh, thank you very much. Thank you so much for coming on the show. That was Josh Gerstein. He's a White House reporter for Politico.